Orbital Station 7 hung in space like a metal flower. It was a human station, one of the largest in this sector. When the ship arrived, Tejo was escorted off by 4 Keth guards. They did not hurt him. They did not even speak to him, but they watched his every move. He was not a prisoner. The Queen had made that clear. But he was not free either. He was something in between, a guest, a curiosity, a problem that nobody knew how to solve. They took him to a small room in the station's diplomatic section. It was nicer than anywhere he had ever stayed before. Soft bed, clean walls, a window showing the stars. But it still felt like a cage. He waited for 3 hours. Then the door opened. Park Yuna rushed in and threw her arms around him. "You idiot," she said. "You complete and total idiot." Tejo hugged her back. Yuna was small, with short black hair and sharp eyes. She was a xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien species. She had known Tejo since they were children. She was the closest thing he had to family. "I heard what happened," she said, pulling back to look at him. "The whole station is talking about it. A human touched the Keth Queen. Do you have any idea how dangerous that is?" "I did not mean to," Tejo said. "I just sat down. I did not know who she was." "That does not matter." Yuna grabbed his shoulders. Her face was serious. "Listen to me carefully. The Keth have politics, complicated politics. Queen Valera has enemies, powerful nobles who want to take her throne. They have been waiting for years for a chance to destroy her." "What does that have to do with me?" "Everything." Yuna started pacing the room. "The Keth believe touch is sacred and forbidden. A queen who allows a human, an outsider, to hold her hand? That is a scandal. That is ammunition. Her enemies will use this against her. I did not want to cause problems for her." "I know, but you did. And now you are stuck in the middle of an alien civil war." Yuna stopped pacing and looked at him. "There is talk of putting you on trial. The Keth want to execute you to send a message." "Execute me? For sitting down?" "For touching the Queen, for contaminating her with your human weakness." Yuna's voice was bitter. "That is how they see it. Humans are lesser beings to them. Warm, emotional, messy creatures. The fact that their queen chose to touch one of us, that makes her look weak, and the Keth hate weakness." Tejo sat down on the bed. His legs felt shaky. He had survived the moment on the ship. He had thought the danger was over, but it was only beginning. "What should I do?" he asked. Before Yuna could answer, there was a knock on the door. A Keth soldier entered. His face was like carved marble. "The Queen requests your presence on her flagship. You will come with us now." Yuna grabbed Tejo's arm. "He is not going anywhere. He is a human citizen. You have no authority here." The soldier looked at her like she was an insect. "The Queen's invitation is not optional. If he does not come willingly, we will take him by force." Tejo stood up. "It is okay, Yuna. I will go." "Are you crazy?" "Maybe." He tried to smile. "But she protected me before. Maybe she will protect me again." The Keth flagship was called Throne of Silence. It was the largest ship Tejo had ever seen, bigger than some space stations. It hung in the darkness like a sleeping giant, all sharp angles and cold metal. They brought him to the throne room. The room was massive. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadows. The walls were covered with ancient carvings and strange symbols. And at the far end, on a throne made of black stone, sat Queen Valera. But she was not alone. The room was filled with Keth nobles. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They stood in perfect rows, their silver skin glowing in the dim light. Their eyes were fixed on Tejo as he walked forward. The hatred in those eyes was obvious. He stopped in the center of the room. The guards who brought him stepped back, leaving him alone, exposed, surrounded by enemies. A voice spoke from his left. It was cold and sharp, like a blade made of ice. "So this is the human who contaminated our queen." Teho turned. A tall Keth male stepped forward from the crowd. He was older than the others, with deep lines on his silver face, and eyes that burned with anger. His robes were red and gold, marking him as high nobility. "I am High Lord Serath," the male said, "keeper of sacred law. And I have come to demand justice." The crowd murmured in agreement. Serath walked in a circle around Teho, studying him like a piece of meat. "Look at this creature, soft, warm, full of disgusting emotions. This is what our queen allowed to touch her royal skin." He turned to face the throne. "Your Majesty, I call for this human's execution. His crime is clear. The punishment is written in our oldest laws, death by ice." The crowd roared its approval. Teho looked at the throne. Queen Valera sat there, silent and still. Her face showed nothing. No emotion. No recognition. She looked at him like he was a stranger. His heart sank. She was going to let him die. But then something changed inside him, a spark of defiance. He was just a cargo worker. He had no power, no importance, but he was still human, and humans did not beg. He looked Serath directly in the eyes. "If warmth is weakness," he said, his voice steady, "then I would rather be weak. I would rather feel something. I would rather live one short human life full of emotion than spend 1,000 years cold, empty, and afraid to feel anything at all." The room went silent. Serath's face twisted with rage. But before he could speak, another sound filled the throne room. Laughter. Soft, broken, beautiful laughter. It came from the throne. It came from the queen. And every Keth in the room looked at her in horror. Because the Keth did not laugh. They had not laughed in 10,000 years. But Queen Valera was laughing now. The laughter echoed through the throne room. It was a strange sound, ancient and rusty, like a machine that had not been used in centuries. Queen Valera laughed, and the entire Keth court stood frozen in shock. High Lord Serath stared at her with wide eyes. "Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? Have you lost your mind?" The queen rose from her throne. She moved slowly, gracefully, like water flowing down a mountain. Her silver robes trailed behind her as she descended the steps. "Lost my mind?" she repeated. "No, Serath. For the first time in 400 years, I think I have finally found it." She walked past the rows of silent nobles. They backed away from her as she passed, afraid to be near her, afraid of whatever strange thing had taken hold of their queen. She stopped in front of Teho. He looked up at her. She was taller than him by almost a head. Her silver eyes reflected his face like mirrors. In those eyes, he saw something he had not expected. Warmth. Real warmth. "This human," she said, turning to address the crowd, "has shown me more truth in one night than all of you have shown me in 400 years. She reached down and took his hand. The crowd gasped in horror. "You speak of contamination," she continued. "You speak of weakness. But I have ruled this empire for centuries, and I have learned one thing. We are dying. Not our bodies, our souls. We have become so afraid of feeling anything that we have forgotten what it means to be alive." Serath stepped forward. His face was dark with fury. "This is madness. This is treason against our sacred ways." "Your sacred ways have made us into statues," Valera shot back. "Beautiful, powerful, and completely empty inside. I am tired of being empty, Serath. I am tired of being cold." She held up her hand, still joined with Teho's. Not just physical warmth, but something deeper. He sat with me when I was alone. He talked to me like a person, not a queen. He treated me like I mattered. He is an animal, Sarah spat, a lesser creature. He is more alive than any of us. The queen's voice was fierce now, and if that makes him lesser in your eyes, then perhaps we are the ones who should be ashamed. Sareth's hand moved to his side. It was a small movement, almost invisible. But Teho saw it, and he saw what Sareth was reaching for. A weapon. "Guards," Sareth called out. His voice was calm now. Too calm. "The queen has been compromised. She is no longer fit to rule. For the good of the empire, she must be removed from power." Half the guards in the room stepped forward. But they did not move to protect the queen. They moved to surround her. Their weapons rose, glowing with deadly blue light. A coup. Teho realized it instantly. Sareth had been planning this. The scandal with the human was just an excuse. He wanted the throne for himself. "Valera," Teho said quietly, "we need to move." She looked at him. For just a second, the powerful queen was gone. In her place was a woman who was scared and confused, a woman who had ruled for so long that she had forgotten what it felt like to be in danger. Then the first shot came. Teho did not think. He grabbed the queen and pulled her to the side. The plasma blast flew past them and hit the wall behind, leaving a smoking hole in the ancient stone. Chaos erupted. Loyal guards clashed with traitors. Nobles screamed and ran in every direction. Energy blasts flew through the air like deadly rain. The beautiful throne room became a battlefield. Teho pulled Valera behind a massive pillar. It was thick enough to block the weapon's fire. For now. "Are you hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. Her silver eyes were wide. "Why did you do that?" "You could have run. You could have let them kill me and saved yourself." "I do not know," he admitted. "I just moved." Another blast hit the pillar. Chunks of stone flew everywhere. They did not have much time. "There is a passage," Valera said, "behind the throne. It leads to the ship's emergency shuttles. If we can reach it, we can escape." The throne was on the other side of the room. Between them and it were at least 20 armed soldiers fighting each other. It seemed impossible. "Stay behind me," Teho said. "You have no weapon. You have no armor. You will die." He looked at her. "Maybe, but you asked me to stay with you, remember? I am staying." They ran. The world became a blur of light and sound. Teho kept his body between Valera and the fighting. He pushed through the crowd, knocking aside anyone in their path. A plasma shot grazed his shoulder, burning through his clothes and searing his skin. He could not stop. They reached the throne. Valera pressed her hand against a hidden panel. A door slid open, revealing a dark tunnel. "Go," Teho said. His shoulder was screaming with pain. Blood was running down his arm. "Not without you." She grabbed his hand, his wounded hand, and pulled him into the tunnel. They ran through the darkness. Behind them, they could hear shouting and weapons fire. Sarat's voice rose above the chaos, screaming orders to find the queen. The tunnel ended at a small hangar. A single shuttle sat waiting, sleek and silver. But they were not alone. Commander Juan stood by the shuttle door. He was a human soldier, tall and stern, with a team of armed humans behind him. Earth's military forces. "Commander?" Teho gasped. "How did you know?" "We detected the fighting," Juan said. "Earth has treaties with the Keth Empire. If the queen dies, there will be war. We are here to make sure that does not happen." He looked at Valera. "Your Majesty, please come with us. We will take you somewhere safe." Valera hesitated. She looked at the human soldiers, then at Teho. "You saved my life," she said quietly. "A cargo worker, a nobody. You saved me." "I told you," Teho said, trying to smile despite the pain. You asked me to stay. She reached up and touched his face. Her hand was still cool, but not as cold as before. Something was changing in her. Something was waking up. Then keep staying, she whispered. Do not leave me now. I will not, he promised. They boarded the shuttle together. The door closed behind them. And as the ship flew away from the chaos of the Throne of Silence, Valera held Tejo's hand and did not let go. Behind them, the coup was failing. Human forces were supporting the Queen's loyal soldiers. Serath's rebellion was crumbling. But none of that mattered to Tejo. All that mattered was the cold hand in his warm one, and the promise he had made to never let go. 6 months had passed since the coup. Tejo stood on the balcony of Earth's embassy station, watching Keth ships drift by in the distance. They moved slowly, like silver fish swimming through an ocean of stars. It was beautiful. He never got tired of looking at it. His life had changed completely. He was no longer a cargo worker. He was no longer a nobody. Queen Valera had given him a new title, First Human Liaison to the Keth Empire. It was a fancy name for a simple job. He was a bridge between two worlds, between warmth and cold, between humans and Keth. The coup had failed. Serath was dead, killed by his own soldiers when they realized they were losing. The other traitors had been captured or had fled to the edges of the galaxy. Queen Valera sat on her throne once again, stronger than before. But she was different now. Everyone could see it. The queen who never smiled had started smiling. The queen who never laughed had started laughing. She spoke to her people differently, with more warmth, more kindness. Some of the old nobles hated these changes, but the younger Keth, the ones who had grown up feeling empty and cold, they loved her more than ever. Park Yuna had been studying the queen for months. She was a scientist, and this was the greatest mystery she had ever encountered. Her body is changing, she told Tejo one evening. They were sitting in his quarters, drinking tea. Her temperature has risen by almost 2 degrees. That does not sound like much, but for a Keth, it is incredible. Their bodies have been cold for thousands of years, and now she is getting warmer. Because of me? Tejo asked. Because of contact with you, because of emotion, because of feeling things she had never felt before. Yuna shook her head in amazement. Humans do not just share warmth, Tejo. We inspire it. We wake something up in other species. Something they did not know they had. Tejo thought about this often. He was just a simple man. He had no special powers. He could not shoot fire or move objects with his mind. But somehow, just by being human, just by being warm and emotional and alive, he had changed an alien queen. He had changed an entire empire. Maybe that was humanity's real gift. Not strength, not intelligence, just the ability to reach out and connect with others. The door to his quarters opened. He did not need to turn around to know who it was. He recognized her footsteps. After 6 months, he knew everything about her. Queen Valera walked to the balcony and stood beside him. She was not wearing her royal robes tonight, just a simple silver dress that made her look almost human, almost ordinary. The stars are beautiful tonight, she said. They are always beautiful, he replied. They stood in comfortable silence for a while, just being near each other, not talking. Not needing to talk, just sharing the same space, the same air, the same warmth. I have been thinking, Valera said finally, about that night on the ship, when we first met. The observation deck. Yes. She turned to look at him. The starlight made her silver skin glow. I have thought about it every day since then. Why did you stay? When I grabbed your hand and told you not to stand up, you could have pulled away. You could have run. But you stayed. Tejo thought about it. He had asked himself the same question many times. I do not know, he said honestly. I was scared. I knew I could die. But there was something in your voice, something lonely, something that needed help. He shrugged. I could not leave someone who sounded that sad. Valera was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. It was a familiar gesture now. They had held hands many times over the past 6 months. But tonight, something was different. Her hand was warm. Taeho looked down at their joined fingers. He could feel heat coming from her skin. Real heat. For the first time since he had known her, she was not cold. I can feel it, she whispered. The warmth inside me. It grows stronger every day. Every time I see you, every time I touch you, it spreads a little more. She stepped closer to him. They were almost touching now. I have lived for 600 years, she said. I have seen stars be born and die. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. But I have never felt what I feel when I am with you. Taeho's heart was beating fast. What do you feel? He asked. Alive. She smiled. It was a real smile, full of warmth and light. For the first time in my existence, I feel truly alive. She lifted their joined hands and pressed them against her chest. He could feel her heart beating. It was faster now, stronger, like his. And if I asked you to stay forever, she said softly, not as a liaison, not as a diplomat, just as you, would you stay? The question hung in the air between them. It was a big question, a life-changing question. He would be giving up Earth, giving up humanity, giving up everything he knew, but looking into her silver eyes, seeing the warmth that had grown there, he knew his answer. You asked me not to stand up that first night, he said, and I stayed. You asked me not to leave during the coup, and I stayed. If you ask me to stay forever, then I will stay forever. She laughed, that beautiful, ancient, once-forgotten laugh that had shocked an empire. Then stay, she said. Stay with me until the stars go dark. He pulled her close. Her body was warm against his. Not as warm as a human, not yet, but warm enough. Warm and getting warmer every day. I will stay, he promised. Always. They stood on the balcony together watching the endless stars. A human cargo worker and an alien queen. An unlikely pair. An impossible love. But somehow, it worked. Because in the end, that was what humans did. They reached across the darkness. They offered warmth to the cold. They said to lonely queens and empty hearts and dying species, you do not have to be alone. And sometimes, against all odds, the universe listened. The Keth Empire was changing. Touch was becoming accepted. Emotions were becoming valued. The coldness that had defined them for 10,000 years was slowly melting away. It had started with one human sitting in the wrong seat. It had started with one queen holding a warm hand and saying, stay here. And it had become something beautiful. Kang Taeho was tired. His body hurt. His eyes burned. He had worked for 14 hours without rest, moving heavy boxes from one end of the ship to the other. He was just a cargo technician. Nobody important. Nobody special. Just a man who carried things for other people. The ship was called Horizon's Edge. It was a big passenger vessel that traveled between space stations. Taeho was on his way to Orbital Station 7 for a new job assignment. He did not care where he went. He had no family waiting for him, no wife, no children, just an old friend named Park Yuna who sent him messages sometimes. He walked through the ship's long hallways. His feet were heavy. He needed to sit down somewhere quiet, somewhere away from the noise and the people. He found the observation deck. It was a large room with big windows that showed the stars outside. The room was dark and almost empty. Perfect. Taeho walked to the corner and dropped into a seat. He closed his eyes and let out a long breath. He did not notice the figure sitting next to him. For a few minutes, he just sat there. The silence was nice. The darkness was peaceful. Then he heard something, a soft sound, like silk moving against silk. Taeho opened his eyes and turned his head. His heart stopped. Next to him sat a tall figure in a dark cloak. The hood was down. He could see the face clearly in the starlight. Silver skin that seemed to glow. Long, sharp features. Eyes like frozen mercury, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. But it was not the alien beauty that made his blood run cold. It was the marking on her forehead. A pattern of 3 circles connected by lines. The royal seal of the Keth Empire. This was Queen Valera, ruler of 47 star systems, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. And he had just sat down next to her without permission. In Keth culture, this was a crime. A serious crime. Sitting beside royalty without being invited meant death. Every human who worked in alien space knew this rule. Taeho had broken it without thinking. He jumped to his feet. His legs were shaking. Words fell out of his mouth like broken pieces of glass. I am sorry. I did not see. I did not know. Please forgive me. I will leave right now. I am so sorry. He turned to run. But before he could take a single step, something cold grabbed his wrist. Her hand. The queen's hand was wrapped around his arm. Her grip was firm, but not painful. Her skin was cold like stone that had never seen sunlight. Taeho froze. He could not move. He could not breathe. Don't stand up, she said. Her voice was soft and old. It sounded like wind moving through an ancient cave. Stay here. He did not understand. Was this a trick? Was she going to call her guards? Was he going to die in the next few seconds? But she did not call anyone. She did not move. She just held his wrist and looked at him with those strange silver eyes. Sit, she said again. Taeho sat. He had no choice. His body obeyed her command, even though his mind was screaming at him to run. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The stars drifted slowly past the windows. The ship hummed quietly around them. Then the queen did something strange. She turned his hand over and pressed her palm against his. Her cold fingers touched his warm skin. She made a small sound. It was almost like a gasp. You are warm, she whispered. Taeho did not know what to say. Of course he was warm. He was human. All humans were warm. Your species, she continued. I have read about you. I have watched you from far away. But I have never touched one of you before. Her fingers moved across his palm. She traced the lines on his skin. She pressed her thumb against his wrist, where his blood pumped beneath the surface. So much heat, she said. It comes from inside you, like a small star burning in your chest. Taeho found his voice. It came out weak and shaky. It is just body heat. All mammals have it. It is nothing special. The queen looked at him. For the first time he saw something in her eyes that was not cold or distant. It was curiosity. And underneath that, something else. Something that looked almost like hunger. The Keth do not have this, she said. We are cold. Our blood is cold. Our skin is cold. Our hearts are cold. We have been cold for 10,000 years. She was still holding his hand. Taeho realized he had stopped trying to pull away. Why are you traveling alone? He asked. He should not have asked. It was not his place to question a queen, but the words came out before he could stop them. She smiled. Because I am tired of being surrounded by people who are afraid to touch me, afraid to speak to me, afraid to sit beside me. She looked down at their joined hands. You sat beside me without knowing who I was. You treated me like a normal person. Do you know how long it has been since someone did that? Taeho shook his head. 400 years, she said. I have ruled for 400 years, and in all that time, no one has ever just sat with me. The coldness of her hand was starting to feel less strange. Or maybe his warmth was spreading into her. He did not know which. I am sorry, he said quietly. That sounds very lonely. The queen of the Keth Empire looked at him. A human, a cargo worker, a nobody, and she held his hand a little tighter. "Yes," she whispered. "It is." Hours passed. Tae-ho lost count of how many. The stars kept moving past the windows. The ship kept flying through the darkness of space. And the queen kept holding his hand. They talked. At first Tae-ho was too scared to say much. But slowly, as the time went on, he began to relax. The queen asked him questions about human life. Simple questions. Strange questions. "Why do humans hug each other?" she asked. Tae-ho thought about it. "Because it feels good. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel less alone." "And you do this with strangers, with friends, with family?" "Yes, all of them." The queen was quiet for a moment. "The Keth do not touch each other. It is forbidden, even between parents and children, even between lovers. We stand apart, always apart." Tae-ho could not imagine such a life. Humans needed touch. They needed hugs and handshakes and pats on the back. Without these things, they became sad and sick. "How do you show love?" he asked. "We do not," she said simply. "Love is considered a weakness among my people. Emotions are seen as flaws. We are taught to be cold, logical, perfect. Feelings only cause problems." She turned her hand over in his. She studied his fingers, his knuckles, the small hairs on his skin. "But you humans," she continued, "you feel everything. You laugh, you cry, you get angry, you fall in love. You are so full of feelings that they spill out of you. The Keth think this makes you weak, but I have watched humans for a long time. I do not think you are weak at all." Tae-ho looked at her. The starlight made her silver skin glow like moonlight on water. She was beautiful in a way that was hard to understand. Not human beautiful. Something older. Something stranger. "What do you think we are?" he asked. She met his eyes. "I think you are alive. Truly alive. In a way that my people have forgotten how to be." The words hit him in a place he did not expect. He had spent his whole life feeling ordinary, feeling invisible. He carried boxes for a living. He had no great skills, no special talents. But here was a queen who ruled an empire, and she was looking at him like he was something precious. "You are cold," he said. He had been thinking about it for a while now. Her hand in his was still cool, but not as cold as before. "Is that normal for your people?" "Yes. Our bodies do not make heat like yours do. We absorb warmth from our environment. But we live on cold worlds. We travel in cold ships. There is never enough warmth." She paused. "Until now." She lifted their joined hands and pressed them against her chest. Through the fabric of her cloak, Tae-ho could feel her heartbeat. It was slow, much slower than a human heart. "Your heat is moving into me," she whispered. "I can feel it spreading through my blood." I have never felt anything like this before. Tae-ho did not know what to say. He was just a man. His warmth was just body heat. But to her, it seemed to be something magical. "You should not waste your time with me," he said. "I am nobody. I move boxes on ships. I have no power, no importance. I am sure you have much better things to do." The queen looked at him with those silver eyes. "I have ruled for 400 years. I have conquered planets. I have signed treaties with 100 species. I have done everything that is important, and none of it has made me happy." She squeezed his hand. "But sitting here with you, feeling warm for the first time in centuries, I am closer to happiness than I have been in a very long time." Before Tae-ho could respond, the door to the observation deck crashed open. Light flooded in. Bright, harsh light. Tae-ho threw his arm up to cover his eyes. When he looked again, he saw 6 Keth soldiers standing in the doorway. They wore black armor and carried long weapons that glowed with blue energy. Their faces were cold and angry. "There she is," one of them said. "We have been searching for hours." The queen rose to her feet. She was tall, taller than Tae-ho, and when she stood, she looked like a different person. The soft woman who had held his hand was gone. In her place was a ruler of empires. But she did not let go of his hand. The lead soldier looked down at their joined fingers. His expression changed from relief to horror. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice shaking, "that creature is touching you. This is a violation of sacred law. This human must be executed immediately." The other soldiers raised their weapons. The blue glow became brighter. They were pointing them at Taeho. He should have pulled away and begged for mercy, but something strange happened instead. He stepped forward, putting himself slightly in front of the queen. It was stupid. He could not protect her. He was just a cargo worker. But his body moved without thinking. The queen noticed. He felt her grip tighten on his hand. Then she spoke. Her voice was no longer soft. It was ice. It was stone. It was the voice of someone who had ruled for 400 years. "Lower your weapons. Now." The soldiers hesitated. "This human is under my protection," she continued. "He has committed no crime. I invited him to sit with me. I chose to hold his hand. If there is any violation of law here, it is mine and mine alone." The lead soldier swallowed hard. "Your Majesty, the court will hear about this. The nobles will demand answers." "Then let them demand." The queen stepped forward, pulling Taeho with her. "This human saved me tonight. He saved me from something none of you could understand. And if anyone tries to harm him, they will answer to me." She walked past the soldiers, still holding his hand. They did not try to stop her. Taeho followed, his heart pounding. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know what any of this meant. But he knew one thing for certain. His life would never be the same again.